between, one is for fourth and fifth graders, and the other one is aiming at sixth to seventh grader also. And also a quick introduction to myself. So, now that I'm offering all STEM classes, you might think I have a strong, STEM background, but that's actually not true. I am mostly an education studies, major person through and through between bachelor and master's. I do have think of it as a minor in computer science, but I hope that's makes me want to qualify to teach computer science, hopefully. All right. So, and before talking about the classes themselves, I want to talk a bit about my teaching philosophy. So my core philosophy is around constructionism, and the idea that we learn best by applying the abstract knowledge hands-on, right? Tinkering with the knowledge and create and build things. So this way we no longer learn passively by just, doing problem sets, but rather by more actively flexing the muscle to put them to work. And what this means in practice is that instead of focusing on the quantity of practice learners get, we emphasize on the quality and depth of each activity. So when we solve math problems, we'll play with the relevant math concepts in multiple different ways to build up intuition around them. And when we teach creative computing, programming, learners will have plenty of open-ended time to freely explore and experiment with their programming skills. And naturally, bringing this core philosophy to an online format is not a simple task, but I firmly believe it is still more than possible for learners to build and explore in a collaborative and open environment. So at the end of the day, the last thing I want to do is put more stress on students. I really want the atmosphere to be playful and relaxed, and treating learning as a rewarding experience. It really is. So also, another side note is in that regard, I also strongly have a personal belief in the growth mindset. So oftentimes, when it comes to STEM fields, we have the notion that there is a clear distinction between correct and wrong answers, and only correct answers are worthy and wrong answers are penalized. I'm on a personal crusade against that. As I believe in the long term, this mindset of avoiding making mistakes is really harmful to learning. Because we all learn from our mistakes, as mistakes show us what we can improve upon and where we have rooms to grow. So I really strive to help our learners to embrace making mistakes while learning. And I would encourage everyone here today to support our students to not be afraid of making mistakes as well. I mean, just literally today when I'm taking the classes, I have no idea how stressful it is to calculate 49 times 49 in front of a bunch of kids. And naturally, I made a mistake, but then again, that's always a good learning opportunity to sort of instill that idea that it's okay. So, diving into the course themselves, Math Challenge 2 and Math Challenge 3 are both sort of math competition preparation courses. But at the same time, it also really helps students to build a more solid math foundation than they would have in school. The intuition of how the math operations work, why the mathematical properties hold, how a single problem can have multiple different correct solutions, and so on and so forth. The quality of math education in school is not always directly matched to the level of our learners, and this is not exactly the fault of the schools either, due to the number of students they need to accommodate, especially in earlier grades. So the exact level each learner is at can vary wildly, depending on how well numeracy was developed. And so in that regard, I believe we should not expect learners to master all the concepts overnight, because that's literally not how we grow and learn. In Math Challenge, we aim to complement what the schools teach, build around it, and provide more personalized way to introduce math concepts that can truly meet where each learner is at. And as such, this course is definitely accelerated compared to math courses, but certainly will still be engaging, rewarding, and at the end of the day, fruitful for learners. The other class is called Getting Creative with Scratch, where learners will pick up Scratch. And by the way, just the background, Scratch is this visual block-based programming language that's very explicitly for educational purposes, developed by a team at MIT. So, and also a bit of personal story here. I first learned programming the canonical way, the usual way in college, studying with like the Java and Python and C. And so I was initially very skeptical of Scratch. It just feels very too simplified almost. However, while at Harvard, my advisor, she's Karen Brennan. She's literally one of the original members at MIT developing Scratch. And she is simply the most passionate and empathetic person I've ever met. And by practicing what she truly believes, she showed me, along with all her students, the value in Scratch. And by the way, her students are, a bunch of educators, 20s, 30s, and 40s. And in introducing the value of introducing like computing and programming to younger audiences in general. So the idea goes like this. While we often think of programming as a job-oriented technical skill, where you go to a coding boot camp so you can get a respectable job at Google and Facebook and make bank. And there is definitely a lot of truth in that, but I personally believe this mindset will do great harm if we try to apply it to younger learners. To them, such emphasis on technical skills will make computing and programming look daunting, stressful, and eventually snuff out their interest in. Instead, learning programming in Scratch is much more like learning how to write creatively or how to paint. Like, think about writing. While grammar and syntax and vocabulary are technical skills, we master them to write poems and prose and stories and fictions and non-fictions to express ourselves creatively. And think about painting. While color theory and not syntax and composition and painting techniques are all technical skills, we produce paintings as a means of artistic creativity. So we should really think about programming the same way. While syntax and algorithms and data structures are all technical concepts, programming as a skill is ultimately about self-expression. It's about creativity. It's about building things. So there are whimsical and ingenious animations and games and music videos and interactive stories and so on and so forth that you can only really create with programming, and therein lies the greatest value of computing skills for our learners to master a new medium to freely express themselves. And as such, my Scratch course does not focus on drilling into the students the computer science concepts or fixed patterns to build efficient, optimized programs. Instead, every class is organized around open-ended creative prompts, like making a music video, or make your dream video game, or just whatever you want, just build anything surprising, okay? So this way, students can not only learn the skills, but also develop the passion for computation in the long term. And this class is offered towards 2nd to 4th, 5th graders or so. So anyone that no background knowledge is required, we can literally start from scratch. Anyone with no computing background whatsoever is all welcome. Okay? Yeah, that's all I have.